I hope this is on. Hello, welcome to Poets in Pajamas. I'm so glad to be here. I hope this is actually working. I'm gonna hang out for a second and just see if things are going well and maybe walk you around my room. Sorry about the big blob of white on this side. That's my light. My room's just a little bit dark. I'm Sarah Ann Winn, and I'm here with my doggies that you'll get to meet in just a second. And I'm going to read from my book and walk you around my office, and we'll have a good time. Sorry about that. Again, light is a little weird. All right. Well, first of all, let's show you my coworkers. This is where they normally are, on the couch. Oh well, there's coworker number 1. This is Benny. This is coworker number 2, Toby. Your good dog. Yeah. They're normally pretty quiet. They're good dogs. They may make another appearance just because if something excites them, they'll get all, wound up and want to be with us, maybe a little more visibly. So you may get to meet them even further than I want you to meet them. Even now, Toby is shoving his his nose into my hand. Oh, I forgot to walk you around my office itself. I just wanted to show you where I work. Here's where I do my thing. Books, more books. I change these out pretty often because, especially when I'm teaching, I like to have them really close to me. But also I kind of like being surrounded by the authors I love. And I watch Cave Akbar's post, and he had this lovely wall of poets, and I more have a big shelf of poets. But same with this. I keep my music stand full of poetry and kind of shuffle those in and out off and on. Desk. This is only for the sake of evidence. My mind is nowhere near this neat most of the time, and my office reflects that. But you get to see it at its best, and hopefully me at my best. I'm not wearing jammies. I'm not really feeling at the top of my game, so I'm wearing just comfy clothes. But shout out to Ruth Foley with her gorgeous Sentimental Asylum, nevertheless she persists shirt, so I'm a little more political than usual. But anyway, it's good to, oh, hello, yay, some of you are already here. Nicole, hi Anna. Thank you for being here with me. Like I said, I'm a little bit more nervous than usual because this is tech is not my forte. So I'm happy to take advantage, but this is a new ground for me. I thought I would read in just a few minutes from my first book, Alma Almanac, and which is out with Barrow Street. And also I'm going to read from my Porkbelly chapbook just a little tiny bit, Haunting the Last House in Holland Island, partly because it's the time of year that I think it's really fun to read these ghosty sorts of poems. So I like that. I like doing that. So I hope you guys can hear me. Otherwise, I'm just mouthing these things and talking to my dog, who apparently is taking this time to play. I forgot to show you the football on the floor. Dave says it's Sunday night, so they have to bring the football to work. So Toby's playing with the football. Oh, that was him. I knew that would happen. Well, anyway, I think since it's about 3 minutes, maybe I should give people just a couple more minutes to get here. I'll show you a couple things from my desk I like to look at when I'm working. My grandparents, very cute for Veterans Day. Grandpa in his Navy uniform, Grandma in her dress. I love that. They're so beautiful. They got married really young, and I feel like invoking him because I'm going to read a couple of Grandpa poems since Alma Almanac was written right around the time of his death, and I think it's a good time of year to read poems to him. Just kind of bring him back into my thoughts, in the front of my thoughts. But anyway, let's see. I think that's maybe enough vamping for now, and I'll go ahead and get started and read a few poems, and then we'll have questions and things like that. I forgot to show you my grandma's ukulele is on the wall next to my ukulele, so they're hanging out together. So that's one thing that I try to practice every day with my poems, or before my poems. I do a little bit of Duolingo, and I do a little bit of ukulele, and short reading, and read a poem a day, try to write a poem a day, or at least redraft or do something, poke at it a little bit. I kind of fell down these last couple of months because, no one's perfect, and it's been kind of a rough go, but I really do try to stick to my routine, and it's nice to have these things right in my hands. It helps keep my practice moving. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. I think I'll start with one of the early ones from Alma Almanac that I read pretty often, but this time of year, I don't think you can have too many apple poems. So I'm going to read Baldwin Apples. In October, their vinegar drew bees, or decay's sweetening drew bees. We brought bushel baskets and sorted, some for the compost, the gently bruised for pies, the best, those half gone with pocked perfect skin, still a little green, for canning in apple butter. The Baldwins lured me to the kitchen counter, the turn and scraping colander mill when the cooked apples were poured in, the splash juice hot and delicious. Space made by adding cooked apples carefully. She tipped the ancient Dutch oven, and my idea of plenty poured down. Did you and she? I asked. Hush, she answered. I didn't dare move, or some would go to waste. Save some for later, she said. Now we restock the canned goods cupboard. No beauty goes to waste here. Fill the shelf, put up for lean winter, the sweet of slowly gathering afternoon, that long fragrant bake, the whole house cooked up and browned with cinnamon. In winter, the sound of that seal breaking snaps me back to sorting apples in the sun. Their scent rolled from Atlanta's fingers, the breath of Eve before she bit. So Toby came walking up, hearing me read. He's all like he wants to be on my lap, so we may have a guest appearance. I like that it was so kind of Poets in Pajamas administrators to post poems that were a little older and that I don't read very often, including Delayed Exposure Close to Home, which was one of the first poems I wrote in the grad program at George Mason University, and also To Preserve November, which I very rarely read. And I think I will read that tonight because we're in sort of a golden period of November, not the ugly gray days here in Virginia. So I want to keep it around. To Preserve November. 1. Begin by shaping your mouth into the shape of your mother's when she was concentrating, or pinning a hem, her lips more full of barbs than usual. 2. Unravel the right front pocket of your favorite jeans until you can poke your index finger through its new hole. 3. From that space, produce the long-lost engagement ring of your great aunt, left to you in her will, as she only saw potential for crafting, was blind to your gift for loss. 4. Go into your garden in the full snow moon. Cut the dried lunaria, the money plant's branches, the one most full of pods. Make sure you have the exact number of dried pods which always filled the tall vase in the hall this time of year. 5. While you're still in the garden, do a silhouette tracing of the ginkgo, outlining each crenellated leaf. Once indoors, cast these in gold, chain glittering cameos of each leaf to their proper cousins. Dangle them over the railing of your front steps. 6. Draw from memory the lace of your daughter's bridal veil. Train a pair of delicately whorled snails to trace the lines over and over. Set them free. Surprise her with the glimmering replica on your stoop when she returns home. That's one of the few books or few poems in this book that was more imagined than real, at least in the early parts of this book, because I don't have a daughter, but I really love the idea of snails who knew a pattern, being able to trace it as a surprise. I love seeing those glittering trails in the morning after they've been outside. A lot of the poems in this book are seasonal, which lend itself to the title. It was really an accident. It was not intentional at all. But then after I started thinking about what I would call this book, and realizing that Variable Stars, which was going to be the title poem, might not take the front seat, I started thinking about how many things in this book are seasonal, like loss is, and how often these patterns reverberate when something happens. So I thought that might be a good reference for the title of the book, Alma Almanac. And the next poem kind of is a little bit about lineage, and both real and imagined lineage. It includes lines from books that are credited at the end, including Girl of the Limberlost, which was one of my favorite books growing up, and an almanac, a real almanac from Vermont, the state of Vermont, in the early 1900s, which I thought was really interesting and fun. So it's got some collage language in it. It's called Morning Baking. Now that the house is mine, I understand. Winter preserves memory. I still smell musk and wine and tea. The woods come just close enough. The family obsession began with my grandmother. She wasn't exactly a witch, but she might have passed for one 100 years ago. She would say, "We want to give the sun and moon time to rise. A little heat, a little soda, a little time. If too much, they break easily. So let me take you for a walk. Bundle up. When you do this on your own, make sure the gate opens and closes early. Come back when you start to get cold, but before you're really ready. Be sure to get back before they crisp up." When I asked her why she never thinned the woods which grew practically to her back door, she said, "The bird woman gave me the birch bark completely roofed in ice," then half chuckled, half grunted. "This is my version of luxury. 0 morning, chimney smoke. I don't have to ration it." When it snows, I take my camera out for a family portrait after I pop the morning in the oven. I catch wings as they lift away from white. "Moth, you call it," says my neighbor, taking a sip. "I've seen a few of the things before." "Mother," I correct her. "Mother." So a lot of the poems in this book actually are very mothery, partly because my mom died when I was 2, and my grandma raised me. Well, my grandma and my grandpa raised me and my sister, and that was a theme that kept coming up in the book, even though I didn't really think I was overtly writing about it or intentionally writing about it when I started drafting these poems. And that really leads me to the next one, which I initially thought was about my grandmother, but really is about my mother. Homing. White more shocking than camera flash, sparks against sky like sun-stricken lakes. Unlikely doves would roost here, taking a break from rising at weddings. Black rooftop, white rhythm. Nearby, a hedge obscures the dovecote from the roadside view. Beside the funeral home, on power lines, where traffic pauses at the light, the living haunt the dead. She thinks of her late mother's step, slippers flopping up the stairs. If she is sleeping, I will wake her. Always she stopped where stairs flatten into a mesa beside the door. The sleeper waits to say goodnight. The doves rise past like dreams. When she drives by, their wings call soft her mother's name. So that one was actually written when I was driving up to see my husband back when we were dating. I would pass a funeral home, and they had a dovecote beside the funeral home, which seemed like a really strange pairing because I associated doves with weddings. I never thought of them with funerals. So it was really a strange moment for me to think, do they release doves at funerals? And then suddenly it seemed perfect. Yes, they should release doves at funerals. So I wrote that poem basically sitting at the traffic light thinking about this. It was not changed very much from that first draft. So that's an oldie, but one that I don't read very often. This next one is one that I do read fairly often, but it's one of my favorites, and it's one of the ones about my grandpa, who passed away when I was in grad school. I consider whether shipping your memory home would be too costly. I take your memory out to the garage to weigh it. The scale for this is ageless, brings to mind countless counters and bulk foods. Its shadow has stood for years, swaying, its red needle uncertainly bouncing when jostled. A hidden spring reveals a drawer underneath, a set of weights in various shapes. One, a net of light on water cast in lead. Another, a set of miniature music box gears, each the weight of a different song, all in bronze, sawtooth as if meant for toy lumber mills. I place your memory on the cradle, light as light, which also has weight and substance, matter. I add 20 snowflakes, winter preserves. I tap the meter which trembles, add lemon from a cold teacup, hum as much as I can remember from when the roll is called up yonder. Finally, I open your last letter, unbend the handwriting so each word straightens into a binary barcode of blue. Dole out these sticks to the tray. If it balances, you'll go. So that last bit was the letters of my grandpa's handwriting were engineer handwriting, which before computers, they actually took classes in this special penmanship so that when they drafted, it would be extremely legible and very precise. And from one engineer to another, it would be very difficult to tell which one wrote it. And his handwriting, until he was very old, remained this very precise font like handwriting, and it was always printed. And he always went back and wrote with a ruler and then added the little J's and F's and anything under the line later. So he was a very precise man. So I think he would have liked that poem. It makes me happy to think that he would have enjoyed it. So when I mentioned that he passed away when I was in grad school, my sister died when I was 17 and she was 16. And a lot of the things that happened in this book were as a result, after he passed, I suddenly started writing way more about her than I ever had. So that's what I'm talking about with these reverberations. I think mourning does that, grief does that, it ripples outward. Field identification. When there was nothing left to say, we talked about birds, pointed out the finches' little black caps, the way their clever claws wrap the seeds so they can pry husk from meat with their beaks. Head tilt, crack, one eye kept on us. At the kitchen table, we looked up the ones who fluttered around our feeder. From our cornflake field, in hedges of dishes, we were camouflaged by cereal boxes, in a butter dish bird blind. Besides nuthatches and chickadees, we identified cardinals and blue jays, even in silhouette. Their peaked heads, their bully swoop to knock away smaller birds, sparrows and wrens. Our table grew still so quickly. We hadn't yet learned to talk about birds. Our hands still shook, putting back the last plate, newly silent. The words wouldn't come for what's next. The silence stretched out its long neck, designed for deep spearing, always ready to stand in the water, to be patient, calm, to be calm, to try together to find the blue crane. Sketched in long gray lines, deliberate Stacy's on our deck, or across the lake, water doubled, angled through lilies. Come with her, ducks shivered around the small open patch of ice near the spillway. The always present birds. We have the birds, always. Like them, we forgot for a while how to go to warmer places. We keep the birdhouse full, regularly check the feeder, its lid raised and lowered, manual grain elevator. We think about the birds as instructed. Someone told us to avoid millet. Who knew how popular peanuts would be? We consider the sparrows. We weigh thistle and sunflower. We try to count the goldfinches when they gather and spar. More than 10, maybe many more, maybe 50 flying in and out of the barberry hedge to fight. I want to multiply my hours this way, round up the number flown into branches only half seen, count the minutes moving too quickly twice, sit at the kitchen table or stand endlessly drying dishes, search the gray sky for signs of peregrination, stay by the feeder filled over and over, keep hunger at bay. When I first wrote that poem, my mentor, Jen Atkinson, read it, and I had the line, keep winter at bay, and she goes, I don't think anyone can keep winter at bay. And she said it so sweetly. And I thought, oh, it's what I want, but it's true. Like, all we can deal with is hunger, at least try to. So I thought that was such a drastic revision, but it was absolutely true. Like, my wish to defeat winter wasn't going to happen. So anyway, that was a major revision as far as I was concerned. I'm just going to read a couple more, or maybe three more. One's shortish. But I wanted to read one from Last House because this book really kind of speaks, they kind of talk to each other. I like that, in more than the common author thing. But they're both so much about grief that I feel like I'm leaving something out if I don't include this last little bit about Holland Island. Last House Water Lore, which I really believe I've never read in public before. So here we go. Last House Water Lore. Tenants in the last house need a new word for flood, for slow motion swirling dust eddies around the living room, the not quite tumult knocking over the porcelain figurine, the small disturbance which would uncover a plate from the Titanic's last meal. Was it set for breakfast? I can never remember. It's like that here. Nobody remembers the last time they ate, whether the plates turned in their sleep and fell to the floor, or if we put them down carefully before we knew hunger, before we knew only currents breaking stillness. You might ask, how much of us is alive? How much is swimming? How much is only borne along? How much, you might ask, can we stand before the pressure of being too deep is too much? Here is where sound is felt. The song of whales disrupts the vibrato of the house, scraping its hull against bottom. Later, others will ask, what do the formulas written on the windows mean? What is the moss trying to say? I've come so far without a map, using a compass whose ordinal directions are blue, black, green, gray. Never noticed till now how much the ocean needed subtitles. I was so lucky to work with Nikki Melcher at Porkbelly on this chapbook, so I have to do a shout out with her or to her because not only was the art such an amazing match, she was lovely to work with. So I always I wanted to include her in this moment also. Last couple, this next one is a hybrid piece, Lunar Chart Lost Year, and I think it's a good wind up to an almanac-y type of evening. Lunar Chart Lost Year. 1, first quarter. You take the incomplete necklace and wear it every day, and so does she. What's yours is yours, and what's mine is mine. Fair. 2, waxing crescent. A moth clings to the ceiling. Only one side is visible, but the other is the same. French manicure, you examine the thumb for flaws and find none. The night is sweet and overripe. Someone has pressed their nail in it. 3, new, as in, this is new, said in a tone that makes it clear the speaker doesn't like the object. Something essential is gone. Cinders in the fireplace from a log which refused at first to flame. The inside of eyelids. A child says carelessly, or worse, in a heartbroken tone, I dropped it. 4, waning crescent. The cecropia fluttered its wings and off-skied. Nail clippings. Someone dog-eared the page of a book too firmly. Imprint crimped. 5, third quarter. Sometimes it's divided heart, sometimes a broken coin, a torn letter. What's mine is mine, and what's yours is yours. Fair. 6, waning gibbous. Dog bowl on the slanted floor. The siren moving into the distance. The aching feet, the nearby chair. 7, full. The coin before it's dropped into the slot. The train has hit another deer. The frog produces the golden ball. Your stomach drops away, endless, dark. The magician has palmed the quarter. He pulls it from your ear. Nobody is surprised. What's mine is mine, and what's yours is mine. 8, waxing gibbous. It's not just the leaves, the slant of branch in the white lilac bush. Press here to reboot. Enough is as good as a feast. So I wanted to, before I read the last poem, I really wanted to thank Poets in Pajamas and Sundress for publishing my first chapbook before all this happened. I'm so grateful to have met, I see Erin's here, Erin Elizabeth at AWP a number of years ago, and really, it's my first home. It's wonderful to be a part of this family. So I feel so lucky to be here with you guys sharing this experience. So I wanted to wind up with what is the oldest poem in the book, written before grad school. So this was probably around the range of 2011, maybe 2010 when I wrote it. And someone noted at one of my readings in California that it was their favorite in the book. And I thought, this is so wonderful that it has had this space to be with all the things that have happened after, because that's how life is, everything is crimped together. So this is called How to Fold a Dream. You have to think first of the breakables. The 4 mockingbirds growing smaller on receding fence posts must be stacked one inside the other, like nesting dolls. Wrap their song in a cyan silk scarf. Place it in the smallest. It must be tucked in carefully. Take down Venus, pack it separately. It's wish-laden, fragile. Store the thunder in your laughter and eat the sunset while it's still ripe. Fold the juniper-freckled fields in the peridot velvet your grandmother draped over her couch. Later, you can follow the creases like a map, riverbeds readable as the lines in your palm. Rearrange the constellations. Move Orion closer to Diana. Locked in a hunter's embrace, each will keep forever in the Gulf Stream, their reflection moving on the water like a skiff made of stars. Don't surrender that last kiss to waking. Drop it in your pocket. Take it out when people aren't watching. Admire its crimson petals, the thrilling yellow jacket bump of desire. So does anyone have any questions or comments? I understand that there's a delay, so I have to be patient, which is not my strong point. For sure. I do see the hearts things. And my doggos, if you didn't hear them, Anna, they were playing, which they almost never play with each other. And of course, they would choose just this moment to play. So, so they were having a great game of football in the background while this was going on. So there was no game delay for them. And hi, Nicole. And hi, Dee. So I'm trying to think of what I could share with you that would be of interest while we wait. If there are questions, there may not be questions. Maybe you all have held your questions to yourself or planning to hold your questions. Something I do when I get stuck. I took a class called Creative Processes back in grad school, which I've spoken about before in a couple different places, with Lynn Constantine in the art department at George Mason. And she had us do little experiments to kind of observe our own creative process. And one of them involved a set of coins that we laid out and made patterns with, but I didn't really care for the fact that it was coins. And so that semester, my husband and I went out to visit his grandmother in Iowa, and on her bedside table, she had this little bowl, which is shaped like a duck, that she was a teacher for many, many years, and a student had traveled and gotten this for her while he was out of the country on break. And she filled it with stones from a beach in Nice. That was all that she brought back that year from a trip to France. And so when I get stuck, I take out a few of the pebbles and I lay them out and I make patterns with them and play with them. It's very calming. So that's one of my favorite possessions, maybe something that I would grab in a fire. Although maybe I have more practical things than a bowl of rocks, but I just love it so much. Some of the things that she gave to me actually appear in some of these poems, including one of the experimental pieces in the book that talks about Viking ships is a mobile, like, here, I don't know if it'll actually show up, but it's There are ships up there. Maybe you can see them spinning. Sometimes they move. Yeah, they're moving. But it was actual boats that made me want to put them in a poem. So I put them in there. Oh, actually, it looks like people are asking questions. Yay! Oh, hello, Trish. Hello, Cynthia. Kate. Hi, Kate. Thank you. My most memorable and dramatic revision. Oh my goodness. So I do say that the words of homing that I read tonight are the same as when I started. They are very, very close to the same. But the lineation has changed so much because I really wanted it to be iambic. So I kept going back and shoving in words and trying to stack it in interesting ways. And it is still kind of iambic. It's not perfect. But then again, not all iambic poems are perfect. It just, that's the one that I really remember. I tinker with poems so much, even after I've submitted them, even after they have been accepted, even after they leave my hands and go out into the world. It's hard to stop thinking about one that you've worked on a long time or that really connects with you. But I would say that one is the most memorable, just because I wanted it somehow to be perfect, like I could fix the experience of losing my mother. I don't know, it was very therapeutic. But anyway, that's probably the most dramatic or memorable one for me. And thank you for your comment, Jenny. That's so sweet. I really love sharing them. I do. This was my heart book. I know first books are often personal, and of course there's the personal is political moment that poetry is having. I often feel that that's a something I wish my poems veered more towards, is addressing current events. But loss and grief are so much a part of people's lives and so difficult to deal with, that I thought, well, this is what I have to share with the world right now. So kind of where I am. Let's see. Ooh, this is a very interesting experience, the live moment, because I'm seeing things in a different, move along differently than I expected to. Cynthia asked, what do I enjoy about the chapbook form? Oh my goodness. What does it allow me to do? What does it help me think about? So I think that what I really enjoy is I'm a dabbler, so I often have a great many projects going on at one time. I have a hard time single streaming. So even right now, I have 3 full-length manuscripts at various stages past 75%, I would say, and then a bunch of thematic chapbooks. What it's recently given me permission to do, I think, is just play without an end goal in mind, because once I start reaching a certain number of poems, I start thinking, what is this missing? Where until that point, I'm writing kind of, I don't want to say aimlessly, but I'm kind of just swimming around in this great new stream of inspiration. So I have a number of sets that reached that point and never got any further, which the Holland Island has gotten a little bit further, not a whole lot after those first ones. I would say I probably only have maybe 25 total Holland Island poems. But the fairy tale poems that are in a number of my shorter collections are building towards a full-length manuscript. So they start to feel more pressure after a certain point. So I think that there's something really freeing about the chapbook form, that it goes out into the world and the pressure's off. Like, it can just be that thing. There's no, it doesn't have to go any further. And I really enjoy that. Yeah. Let's see this. No. I have one that's been orphaned. It's looking for a home right now. That was with a press that went under, and I have the 2 digital ones. The Portage was actually part of this book, so some of the poems in Portage are as is in Alma Almanac, which is my first chapbook. And so taught me about making a collection, really, like a full length, because suddenly I realized what sides Portage was kind of veered towards, I guess, in the collection, and then I could kind of work around it, what was missing, or what I felt the direction that it wasn't going that I wanted it to go. But Holland Island is almost exactly as I wrote it in the order I wrote it. There's not much different about Holland Island. Field Guide through Essay Press, which is a nonfiction press. I feel kind of a guilty pleasure that poets often feel, I think, with those are lyrically true. The spirit of Field Guide is very true, but the factual side of it, if they had said, "Can you prove that these are true?" I would have been in trouble, because I cannot prove that they are true. I feel they ought to be true, or they are the way I wish I could arrange things. So that chapbook was a little different. And I'm so grateful to Crystal Langwell for selecting that one for Essay Press, because it's not, those are all hybrid poems. Those are not poems in this sense, and I didn't know what else to do with them. So that was before I kind of felt comfortable mixing and matching formats, and in a way, it released me from the pressure of form, of the poetic form. In a way, I was putting a lot of pressure on myself. Hi, Nikki. I see you just joined, and I invoked your name a minute ago. I read from Holland Island. But does that answer the question? I'm not really even sure. I like chapbooks partly because of the instant gratification. You have a set of work that can go into the world before you're fully, everything is done. And I like that. Were there any other questions? I don't know. Like I said, this is significantly different than teaching online, so I'm a little bit I don't know, fumbly. Sorry. I hope you guys didn't hear my dogs scrambling. I'm a little bit embarrassed that they were roving around. Well, let's see. I don't see any other questions. Should I? I'm not really sure what the next step is. It didn't occur to me to investigate, other than now Toby wants out of my room. So that was that noise. He was scratching. So I'll do one last call, and then we can sign off. I think it's almost time. So we're pretty close. Is there anything you guys wanted to see closer that was in my room? I can show you. This is a rare occasion. Welcome to my office. Not very many people have been in here besides me. I'm shy-ish in real life. Oh, what's my next adventure? Oh my goodness. Well, short term, my husband just booked a ski trip for himself that I'm going along on. I'm going to read, and I want to go snowshoeing. So like that's my literal next adventure. I'm still pulling together my literary next adventure. I have a class coming up at the Loft, which is about extending the 30-30. Or no, that's not what that is. It is about the poetic sequence. It's about the poetic sequence. The extending the 30-30 is going to be part of Barrel House's Washington Connections and Conversations event. So obviously I like sequences, so both of those kind of feed into that. But the extending the 30-30 is going to have a whole bunch of different exercises and ways that you can work on revisions or lean towards something that you might not recognize yet. So I'm excited about that. But that's not until, I believe April isn't until then. The Loft course, which is about extending the poetic sequence, starts in February. And that's an online course. So I'm really excited to teach that. I love teaching. And right now I'm teaching at Northern Virginia Community College, an intro to poetry class, which has been so fun. So kind of mid-adventure on that one. And Dot and Bow, my manuscript is still, that's what I'm kind of wrestling with still right now. That's my literary adventure as far as the writing life goes. But it's been kind of put on hold because of, grading and things. All right, well, I'm going to let my very impatient dog out, and then when I sit back down, I'll check for questions. And then after that, I'll wave goodbye and thank everyone for being here. I really appreciate it and these good questions. So hang on just a second. I'm going to let the dog out because he's scraping and something is distressing him. But I'll be right back, okay? Don't go away. Come on. It's okay. Why don't you go see Daddy? Go on. Go on. Apparently they were desperate. There was an emergency downstairs, apparently. Thank you very much for being here, guys. I really appreciate, or guys and gals and people. I really appreciate it. And I'm proud to be part of this series. Thanks a lot. Bye.